Hi, Abby. How are you?
I'm good, Kay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time to come on the Soul to Soul podcast. It means a lot. I'm really looking forward to this chat.
Me too. And I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm sure you have some questions, hopefully, for me, and that will just direct wherever this is meant to go and what it's meant to come through. Uh, yeah, I'm excited to see what that is.
Most definitely. I came across you on Instagram when I came across your daily card readings and resonated quite strongly with the messages that you were sharing. And then that for me led to coming and having a healing with you, which was beautiful. And then I was guided to invite you on my podcast show. So I'm excited to share with you and to share with others the beautiful work that you're doing here on the Sunshine Coast, which I know that my community is going to be really interested in hearing about. So I
Yeah.
thought to start that it would be lovely to ask you to share a bit about the beautiful intuitive work that you are currently doing.
hmm Awesome. Okay. Well, yes, my name is Abbi Ricker, and my business is Sunshine Coast Reiki. So that might give you a clue about what I do. Reiki is kind of the heart behind everything, and it really was the opening to all that I do now, and it keeps unfolding, which is the magic of doing energy work, I think, and being really kind of spirit guided that you learn to live from your intuition, and it guides you to all sorts of weird and wonderful places and amazing people. And yeah, I can't get enough. So my whole life kind of is shaped by it now. So I do practice Reiki. I do it one-on-one. I do energy healing sessions. I also teach Reiki because it made such an impact in my own life that what happens then, of course, you want to go and share it with people. So teaching it felt very natural to me, and I teach it. I teach all levels of Reiki. I teach every month. I do daily guidance card readings. So sometimes I'm not on it as daily as often, but again, that's where spirit, you just roll with it. But when I feel called to share, I definitely share messages that feel relevant, that might help people. I do light language. I do group events. So I have a meditation group. I do a bit of everything. And yeah, I love sharing healing work pretty much and just helping guide people to their own intuition and their own knowing, because that is such a beautiful guiding force that we do all have access to. And the more that we actually access it, I find, and maybe you have found the same thing, Kay, that the better life becomes.
100%. For someone who's listening today that doesn't know what Reiki is, how would you best define Reiki?
Yeah, well, Reiki has Japanese origins. So Reiki itself is two Japanese words, Rei and Ki, which translate to universal life force energy. So we all have our own energy. We know this. I know I'm alive. I see you all alive. You have vibrancy. You have energy, and even people who are not in what I would call the spiritual world, we it's natural to talk about our energy. Oh, I'm so drained. Oh my gosh, I'm so energized. Like it's a normal thing to talk about our energy and notice that it fluctuates. And so all different things affect it. When we're talking about Reiki, when you learn Reiki, you become a channel for universal life force energy. So we all have our own energy field, but it all comes from this greater source, uh, the universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it. There is this greater energy field and force and frequencies there available for us. And when we become a channel, we can channel them through us and use them to heal ourselves, to bring growth, to bring peace, calm, release stress, all those types of things. And then also channel that and do that with other people and help guide them in that way as well. So Reiki is a beautiful hands-on, or you don't have to have your hands directly on, you can hover them, work in the auric field, form of healing, and definitely known for stress relief, but it can lead to very, very interesting places like past lives, ancestral healing, galactic connections. I mean, all sorts of weird and wonderful things opened in my life that I was not aware of before until I opened into the world of Reiki. So
What led you to Reiki in the first place?
it was very intuitively guided. It felt like some higher force said, it's time to really start the next phase of your life. I've always been drawn to the spiritual, like growing up. I tell this story in my every level 1 class. Growing up, always really drawn to, we always went to the library. My family always at the library, and the books I was led to were meditation, were yoga, were philosophy. I just had this inherent interest in that, and it just felt like an interest. And it was in 2018 or 2019 that I had a friend who learned Reiki, and I'd been aware of Reiki, but I really didn't know much about it. And I got jealous. I wasn't really aware I was jealous. I just got this weird feeling and was like, oh, what's she doing? And then, a post popped up on Facebook about jealousy, and it said jealousy is your soul's way of telling you you want to do something, or you could do something and you're not doing it. And I was like, that's what this is. I never thought this pathway was open, that we could just go do something sort of spiritual and anyone could do it. And seeing her do that gave me permission. And so very soon I had a Reiki session. It was amazing. I felt all these things and the practitioner wasn't even touching me. And I was like, whoa, that's just opened up this whole new world of possibility. And so, yeah, very soon I was sitting in level 1 Reiki, and it hasn't really stopped from there. It's just kept going. But yeah, it was like something came along and said, it's time for this new phase of your life. And I just followed it. And the more I followed that, I would say I started following my intuition a lot more than my rational mind, which tells all sorts of stories. And the more I just went, for some reason, I don't know why, I just should do this, and I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to ignore that little voice in my head saying, what, you can't do that, or what's going to happen, or that's weird. And I just went, something is telling me do it. So I'm just going to go for it.
I love that you referred to your guidance and the ideas or the intuition or the urge to do something. Why is it important, do you think, to live this way where we're guided by our intuition?
Well, intuition to me is, again, we humans like to give lots of names to things to try and understand them, which is great, and to try and communicate them to others. So our intuition, I think, is our higher self. There's this greater aspect of us that has this path let out for us that we get to discover along the way, which is a pretty crazy journey. And it feels like, to me, it comes through the heart center, like the energetic heart center, not your kind of organ heart. And the more that we let that lead, it feels like a deep truth. It's like when you really feel deep love, or you feel deep compassion. To me, that feeling is really beautiful. Like those really elevated emotions and happiness and joy and gratitude, they feel like they just flow from here, and they feel amazing. They feel so beautiful. And when I follow my intuition, it brings me more and more of those feelings. I sit in that state so much more. The mind, again, different names for this, the mind, the ego, or the conscious mind, that is very easily manipulated, and it's formed of all the voices we've heard throughout our life. It's formed from our parents' voice, our friends. It's formed from beliefs that we've developed from what we've seen in the world around us. So that part of us can have all these stories there saying, to me, the intuition always speaks first. It says like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And then in comes that mind, and depending how aware you are of it and how much work you've done, sometimes it's so strong and it says, no way, you should not do that. And here's all the reasons why. Here's the reason. You'll look silly. You can't do that. Don't bother. That's a waste of money. What's going to happen? It has all these amazing reasons, and it's very persuasive sometimes. But often when we listen to that and we follow it, we might feel relief sort of immediately and go, oh yeah, that's the right decision. But then the next day or 2 days later, a week later, we just find ourselves still, okay, I'm not feeling that great. Or now I'm questioning, was that the right decision? And it's like we get kind of caught up in those thoughts. And with the intuition, the more you listen, the intuition just knows. And there is no question. It doesn't need any stories. It doesn't need an excuse. It doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need to convince you. It's just like, I know. I just know I need to do this. And it kind of gets to be exciting. It's more of an adventure, like, oh, I feel to do this. What's going to happen? let's find out.
Have you
So yeah,
have you always known to follow your intuition, or is this something that you've learnt?
I've definitely learned more about it. I recognize this is the gift of hindsight. You can look back and say, and in level 1, I invite people to do this. We talk about intuition versus ego and reflect back on times in your life where you followed your intuition and what happened, or can you identify times that you didn't and what happened? So you might have had a knowing that you really wanted to do something and you didn't, or you delayed, or what have you. And just recognizing, I mean, often for me, if I follow my ego or those doubts, worries, fears, I do usually end up coming back around, and I do actually follow the intuition in the end. But it's just like, oh, wow, I could have done this a year ago. I could have done this a long time ago, and I just let kind of fear get in the way. I mean, I'm also an advocate that there's no mistakes and that everything happens just as it should, and you'll learn exactly what you need to along the way. But I find things happen a lot quicker, and growth and exciting things happen in your life the more that you follow that intuition. So yeah, to answer your question, in the past, I recognize times I've followed it naturally, because we do all have access to it. It's there. And it just depends the trajectory of our life and how much we kind of trust ourselves and our own knowing, as to maybe how much we listen to that. I used to sit in a lot of doubt, self-doubt, self-consciousness, and that really held me back a lot. Learning Reiki, really opening up, tapping in, listening more deeply to myself and sort of not the external world. We've often been taught to look for answers in the external world, and we actually have all the answers inside of us. It can be as simple as, if you have a question, first of all, just ask yourself, just ask, hey, higher self, hey, intuition, whatever you want to refer to it as, what should I do in this case? And just sit and listen, and you might receive an answer which just can feel like a thought in your head or a feeling immediately, or maybe over the next day someone comes along and they just tell you the answer, or they give some guidance. It becomes very interesting to observe, but there is a level of trust in there, and I definitely had to work and build that trust with myself deeper and deeper and deeper to go, well, my intuition's rock solid, because I've really worked on forming a relationship with it and listening deeply. Yeah.
I asked a lot, how do you know the difference between your intuition and your ego or fear or your mindset? So how would you explain that?
I definitely, this is not I mean, I have different explanations for this, but the best one that popped up in my reality recently, and I can't remember where it came from, it was either in a podcast or just, Facebook, one of those memes that pops up, but it was about the reasoning. Like, your intuition won't have a reason. You'll just get this feeling to do something. You'll think, oh, that looks good. And you usually have I would say a positive feeling in your body. Or if it's intuition, I mean, if it's your ego talking, it will have a reason. So your intuition doesn't need a reason. Your ego does. It wants a reason for something. It's going to go, yes, I should do this because la, 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 and it will have really convincing, reasons and arguments for you. But I find, from, being self-aware and working on this, that when that's happening, I don't get that same feeling in my body. So I'm quite aware of a feeling that's attached to when my intuition talks. There's kind of a feeling there that feels kind of positive, or it can also even feel a bit scary. Sometimes it's a bit of a fear feeling, like, oh, and I mean, fear, excitement, they can sometimes feel quite similar. And something new can be a bit scary, but also exciting. So there's usually just this charge to it. There's like this, oh, that's something that is pulling me or telling me, or it feels solid and calm and steady. And then the ego feels more like, energetically, this is where we can start to kind of feel our energy go into spiral. Or if you're starting to go, oh, I don't know, and getting worried and wanting to talk to people about it, okay, time to just let go of that for a minute, because that's that ego taking over. That's that conscious mind. Your ego's trying to protect you. That's one of its roles. It wants to be the protector. So if your intuition is telling you to do something new, that maybe is a bit scary, maybe a bit out of your comfort zone, because when we step out of a comfort zone, we grow and amazing things happen. But, you know, there is this really primal part of us that wants to stay safe. And stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't feel so safe. And so that ego wants to jump in and go, oh, I don't know about that. That could be a bit scary. What's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. That could be dangerous. I mean, you know, if you're going to jump off a cliff or something, please like have some safety equipment. There's a good reason we have this protective mechanism there. But yeah,
What would be your suggestion to somebody who's in that quandary of, is this my intuition, or is this like, how do I know? What do I do? How do I know the difference? And then how do I know that's my guidance? What would you suggest to someone that's listening today?
Yeah, so I mean, meditation is a great way, and meditation there's different forms, but really just being present with yourself and just starting to have an awareness is awareness. When you have awareness of something, you can do something about it. If you have no awareness, you're not going to know. Even just simply going, you know what? I'd really like more awareness around when's my intuition speaking versus when is my ego speaking. And just start to notice, oh, I just got a feeling. Does that feel like it's maybe coming from my heart? Do I feel calm? Am I questioning this? Is there a reason coming in? And just start to see the difference there. Also, you can never make a wrong move anyway. Often when we go into our ego, it keeps us really stuck. And this, to me, I think in terms of energy. So it starts this kind of inward spiral and we kind of lose outward momentum because we're stuck in this, I don't know what to do. Is it this? Is it that? And that energy just stays in here instead of flowing outwards. If you do something, you're going to know pretty quickly, oh, actually, no, the other one was the right one. Yes, because this definitely feels wrong. And the more you push, the more you'll go, oh, things aren't working out. And you'll just start to see it like this isn't working or this doesn't feel good. So you know you've got an answer there. Okay, let's try this other way. Let's do something else. Yeah, you can't make a wrong move. Your intuition's always there. It's always guiding you. So it's not going to run away. It's right there. So no matter what move you make, it's there ready to guide you. So whether you take a step to guided by ego, it doesn't matter. Intuition is there to like help get you back on track.
Thank you. Now, you just recently hosted a light language workshop, and I think for some of my listeners, that will be a very new modality that they may not have heard of. I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about your workshop and what light language is.
Okay. Light language is pretty crazy. One of those things that my intuition has led me to that I never thought, I didn't know about it, and I had no idea this was going to be part of my path, and it's becoming a really, really big part of my work and what I'm doing. So light language, I mean, Reiki, I like to refer back to Reiki in this because most people, I think, are a bit familiar with Reiki or have a concept of it. So with Reiki, we channel energy through our body and through our hands, and we can direct it into other people or into ourselves. With light language, it's kind of doing the same, but it's coming out of your mouth as sound. So it's coming as sound. It can come as like hand signals. If you ever watch a video, like Google light language or YouTube it, you might see people doing this kind of thing, which in Reiki, we direct energy and we clear energy with our hands. And this is the same thing with light language. That's similar to what is happening. It's just in a different form. So light language, it sounds like gibberish, but it sounds like not English, obviously, or not a known language, because it's basically light condensed into sound. So often people ask, does that have a translation? Like, do you know what you're saying? And it's not going to be there's no like light language book of these words translated to this into English words, because we're talking about light frequencies. But there's usually an intention, or there's a known kind of message behind it. It can be used for the same things I use Reiki for. It can be used in healing sessions. It can use to be clear emotions, help bring emotions to the surface. It can be very calming and soothing. It can be very activating, where you feel energy shifting and moving in your body. It can be used for like earth connection. you can do lots and lots of things with light language. So the workshops I've been running, I just ran one on Sunday, and that was the second one with my friend Brooke, who is also an amazing light language and sound frequency healer. It's a chance to bring people together because there are popping up more and more light language events, sort of like sound healing events, where they use the crystal bowls and they do all sorts of beautiful things, but people also speaking light language. And when you receive it, like often you'll feel tingling and you'll feel different things in your body. Sometimes people will go on kind of a visual journey, you know, when you have a guided meditation and you're like, oh, I'm in the stars, or I'm meeting beings, or whatever's happening. That can happen too when you're hearing light language. So yeah, I've seen a lot of events where it's just about receiving it, but these workshops we've been running have been a chance for people to come and explore it, see if they want to speak it. Often they do, or they, I don't know, have that same fear of, oh, I don't know, the ego saying, you can't do that. What do you think you're doing? But their intuition has often led them there saying, I want to be there. I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the common feedback. We had 30 people there on Sunday, and yeah, most of them were like, I don't really know why I'm here. Just felt like I needed to be. So, and at the end, a lot of them had spoken light language, and they were blown away by that because they actually didn't come expecting to do that. Even though it's a light language workshop, they just came to something told them to be there. And so that's really beautiful. We do activations. So I go around and do activate people to receive whatever they need to receive. This is the intention with Reiki, and this is the intention with light language. It's not up to me what anyone else receives. It's always, I'm just bringing through whatever is needed for the greatest and highest good, and that's up to their soul of what they're ready to receive. And I sort of give myself over to my higher self to bring through whatever is needed. So it's always very interesting to me too to see what happens. But yeah, really beautiful. Lots of clearing, lots of dense emotions coming up, but then moving into really light, blissful states. Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's very powerful, very intense, these workshops. I do one-on-ones. They're when you get a group together, the energy gets amplified. So everything happens a lot faster. You might know this, Kay, and I know that you're doing your Bali retreat, so you're going to have people there experiencing that. When a group is together, wow, it's powerful, hey.
It is. It's so special and so magical, and every group is unique. And everybody in that group who's meant to be there is meant to be there for a reason. It's meant to happen in that way, in that moment. And when we're connected energetically, I think that's the power of group work, is it elevates the frequency. And when it elevates the frequency, our portal opens up even wider and more expansive. And that's why we have such amazing things happen in group workshops. And when people see also in group workshops, they may come not knowing why they're there, but they've listened to their intuition, they've listened to the calling, and just giving themselves permission to be there, it can be enough. And even as the observer, you can participate passively. Being an active participant, again, open you up even more. It's really, really cool to watch, and really cool to be a participant as well.
Oh yeah, I was saying to the people on Sunday, like, what did you experience? Because I know what I'm guided to do, but I haven't been in your shoes. I haven't even received this kind of thing. So
yeah,
I'm hearing their stories because it's again, I just get out of my own way and do what I'm called to do. But I'd love to be in their shoes and feeling some of that too, because yeah, I see the effects and I hear their feedback and go, wow, that sounds awesome. I want to do that.
like you said before, you don't know what's coming through for each of your guests. It's that trust and just knowing that that's what you've been guided to facilitate, and just trusting that whatever comes through is for the highest good of everybody that's there. And that's just so cool.
Oh, and that's taken time to cultivate. Like, I used to be the biggest list maker, biggest prep, like, yeah. And more I'm I think we're being guided to live more and more in the moment and to trust our own channel, to trust our intuition, to trust our own guidance, and live from that place like all the time. And that is what I'm working towards. My head gets in the way and leads me astray many times, but I'm much better at consistently listening to my intuition, following it. And I do like give myself a pat on the back. This is where our ego actually has a purpose. We don't want our ego to go away altogether. It keeps us the amazing individual we are, but we want our heart and our mind, our intuition, our ego working together and being like best buddies. Because for a lot of people, they argue with each other all the time. Intuition, heart says, do this, and ego says, no, no, no. And then it's just this internal battle. But when we can get them on the same page, wow, our energy field just opens in a new way and it's so much better. And then the ego is like, whoa, yeah, go girl, look at you doing your thing. And yeah, I go, wow, look at me trusting and leaning in. And yeah, it's taken work and like steps along the way. But yeah, it's a good place to be in. And in a relatively short amount of time, I would say things are happening quickly. So this is not, I've not had 20 years of doing this. This is like 5 years of doing this. And the
So
first year, slow babies. Yeah.
Do you believe the timing of your growth is linked to the level of trust you've placed in your journey? Why do you think your journey has grown so quickly and so expansive in such a short period of time?
Yeah. I guess yes, because I did make this commitment. I felt, okay, I just saw the change. After Reiki level 1, I felt so different. After being attuned to Reiki, I felt this weight of, it felt like years and years, lift off my shoulders of this self-doubt and self-consciousness and worry. It just felt like this huge layer got lifted. It doesn't go away forever, but it just opened me up. I had all these new people coming into my life that I felt like I'd been looking for my whole life, that just felt like a deeper connection and just open and beautiful, warm people. And I felt more warm and open. I felt able to trust people and welcome them in. I felt really deep gratitude and love. And so I was just like, give me more of this. If Reiki gave me this, I want more. So, I just kept doing the levels and following the Reiki kind of path. And really, if I do an experience, I go in fully open to it. I'm like, for this time, for this experience, I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm taking the advice. I'm doing the recommended things. I'm all in. Like, I got led here for a reason. I want to give it my best shot. And I stay really open. And sometimes the ego's there. It's trying to judge. It's trying to say, oh, that's silly, or you can't do that. And I more and more just learned to say, okay, I know you're there. I know you're trying to keep me safe. And, I used to really have a big, and again, still pops up now and again, about getting it right, needing to get it right. And so this has been a huge lesson for me, because it's been really stepping into, there is actually no right, and it's just whatever I want to do is right. That's right. And no one else can tell me that it's right or wrong. And that's been hugely liberating. But yeah, I just kept trusting and leaning in. I incorporated Reiki into my daily life, and I just learned to listen to myself more and more. So if it was, hey, I need to be at the beach. Hey, I need more time in nature. Hey, that food actually isn't good, like isn't vibing with my body. Hey, when I'm around these people, I'm noticing I feel flat. I don't feel energized when I walk away. I'm like, with love, I'm just maybe going to spend more time away from them and spend more time with these new people who are coming into my life, who are interested in the same things as I am, and who I feel really energized and lit up when I'm around. So yeah, just kept following that more and more and more, and kept learning as well. I've not stopped learning since I, did each level of Reiki. And I definitely wasn't at the start, oh, I'm going to do every level of Reiki. I went, let's see what happens. And level 2 I did quickly, and then it was kind of, we'll see. And then one day, oh, you know what? I think I want to do this next level. And so I've just kept operating from that space. Like, I don't try and push anything. I don't try and force it. I'm quite in surrender. If it's meant to be, it will present itself to me. And yeah, again, that's taken some trust and some like I've had many, getting stuck in my head and worrying, but ultimately it still all works out. I look back and go, usually when something happens, I go, wow, it happened. I spent a lot of time worrying there and I didn't need to. Next time, hopefully I won't worry so much because look, it worked out in the end. But, I just kind of laugh at myself. I go, oh, ego, it's okay.
Yes, that's the key, isn't it? Is to look back and at the way maybe we procrastinated and maybe we were trying to rationalize our intuition, because often, mostly always, our intuition doesn't make any sense to the rational mind. We're just being called to fully trust the guidance, and we're often not shown the unfolding of the guidance either, the bigger picture. Sometimes we are, but more often than not, we're not. We're just guided to do the thing, whether it's, follow a different road to go to work. And for whatever reason, you might drive the same way every day and you just get a feeling to just turn right here and go a different route. And it may just be that our intuition's helping us. There's something's happened further down. There's a crash or whatever that we don't know about. And our intuition's just guiding us around the roadblock. And it can be as simple as that, using our hunch or inkling or curiosity to just do something a different way.
I've got an example of that today. It's nothing major, but coming home from yoga, it's bin day at my house today. And I started singing, put the bins out, put the bins out. And the bins were out on the thing, but I knew the bins inside, like I needed to empty them and take them out. Anyway, I was singing that as soon as I was walking in the door. And I was telling myself, oh yeah, I've got to do that right away. But instead I sat down on my phone and, got lost for like 5 minutes. And then I heard the garbage truck right outside. I'm like, that's why I was singing the song. That's why I was singing this garbage song, put the bins out. Like it was saying, hello, you need to do this like as soon as you get home. Do not sit on your phone. Don't do anything else. Get the bins out. But I didn't. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, they're going to come again next week. But just funny little things like that say, hey, there was something telling me to do that. Maybe I didn't follow at that time, but I see that, I should have probably. So
I wanted to talk to you about the different ways that our intuition can communicate to us. I know that with my clients and the lovely people that I get to work with, I'm noticing more and more that there's a far wide, like I want to say, range of ways that we can receive our guidance. And we're probably all familiar with the clairs, and that's often how we're taught to open up our intuition. And just this morning I was talking to a client and she mentioned to me that every morning she wakes up to song in her head, and the lyrics of the song obviously have some sort of significance. And that led me to think we all have different ways that our intuition speaks to us. So I'm wondering if you've noticed that with your community and what you have to share about the different ways that our intuition wants to communicate with us.
Yeah. Oh, the songs are cool. I get that sometimes and I love that. That's fun. When
Don't I'm like, that would be cool. Oh, actually, no, I did. Yesterday I did.
Yeah. And it's realizing it's happening for a reason. There's a reason that song has popped into your head. There's a reason you're thinking about that person. I've noticed it so much lately. I have over time, but really lately, if I'm thinking of someone, they're thinking of me because I get a message from them or they suddenly book a session or, it happens so much that you might start thinking, oh, that's weird. I was thinking of that person. And that's your awareness. Now you're aware that, hey, maybe if I suddenly think of someone, possibly they're thinking of me and I should message them, or, then they message you and you go, oh, how cool. What a coincidence. Noticing things like that. Or it's also recognizing, hey, if I could have thought of anything right then, and you're usually aware, you're aware enough to go, oh, that was a random thought. Well, where'd that come from? there's a reason. There's probably a reason that's dropped into your head, and you don't need to necessarily do anything about it unless it's a very clear, I should put the bins out. Then I probably should. But yeah, sometimes it's just, if you're thinking of that person, just be aware. Oh, and maybe it is just check in on them. Maybe it's spirit saying, hey, this person really needs, I've done it before. One of my students, I just thought, I'm really proud of her. I should tell her. And I thought, okay, I will. And then she, the message back was, oh my gosh, I really needed to hear that today. And I was just really doubting something, and I asked for a sign, and then you messaged me. And so just know that following your intuition helps other people. You might not know why you need to do something, but it really helps someone else. But yeah, it can come through as a thought in your head. Mine are usually, it's like a thought, and it just feels like, oh, that's not something that really relates to what's happening, that I would suddenly think that. Or it could be a feeling, that gut feeling where you're just like, oh, it's like you go to do something, like, oh no, this is what people tell me a lot, and I've noticed in myself. Maybe I'm looking at something and I'm thinking about booking it, and then when I go to, it's like, no. And then my mind goes, oh, but that looks fun, and your friend is going. Don't you want to go? I'm like, I don't know. It's just not happening. There's something stopping me. And then, guess what? Something else happens, or it gets cancelled, and you go, see, that's why I didn't need to do that, or I didn't need to be there. So yeah, it can just be this feeling in your body. I will say too, you can set an intention. So I very much feel my role, and this has come, I didn't know this my whole life. This has definitely developed through my path, but I'm definitely here to be of service. So I don't know, it's always an underlying thought in my head, but I might say it very intentionally in the morning sometimes, or yeah, whenever I really feel to. But I'll say, please show me how to be of service. How can I be of greater service? And I put that intention out there, and then my intuition responds. Like, it will put things in my path, and I'll get the feeling. Your intuition also works with spirit guides. So if you believe in spirit guides or angelic support, that we do have these higher dimensional beings there helping us, we can ask questions, and then they will bring us guidance. So, again, you might suddenly notice, wow, I'm just really noticing all these numbers, or I'm noticing the word yes is everywhere, and maybe you've been debating if you should do something, and suddenly it's just standing out, or your attention is being drawn to it. Or someone, you've been saying, oh, I really feel I'd like to learn something, but I don't know what it is. Your guides are listening, and then they'll tell your friend who's just done something. Like, your friend will get an intuition or a thought to suddenly tell you, hey, I just did this amazing thing, or I just heard about this amazing thing. And you go, oh, and you get the feeling, you get this little excitement. It can be this excited flutter. Oh, yes. And I know when it's really for me, I cannot, just like I was saying, where you pause and you don't book. Oh my God, I need to book this right now. I just cannot book this fast enough. I feel like the tickets are about to sell out and I have to do it. So it can come through as that really, like, every cell of your body just going, do it. So
surge of energy, and you're just so energized, and it's like you're getting told now's the time. Sit down and get this done. I know yesterday I had a day of full number patterns. So from the beginning of the morning, going for a walk with my husband, 22s and 11s everywhere, throughout the day, 222, and then sitting down to have a meeting. I was looking at my podcast stats, and I opened up my screen, and it was 11:44, 11:11, and then underneath was 554499. And then I host a meditation circle on a Monday evening. And on the way to meditation, my speedometer 1099. When I arrived, 1100. And then the song that came on the radio, in the mornings, I like to meditate. If the sun's rising, I'll sit out the back and watch the birds. And I have a very close connection with trees. And then I heard the words to the song, and it was, the first two lines were, I fly like the bird, I grow like the tree. And my meditation last night was themed around the sun. And then the second song that came on the way to meditation was Follow the Sun by Xavier Rudd. And I was like, okay, what is happening today? This is I'm so connected.
Mm,
And
those
it's a
days.
beautiful affirmation, isn't it? And
Yeah.
confirmation.
People say, what's those numbers mean? And sometimes if you really are seeing, like lately I've been seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, and I never used to ever see that. And so that to me is a quite specific message about like, yes, keep following the steps, keep going, and it's building and growing. But days where I'm just seeing, yeah, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, all of the numbers just randomly all throughout the day, it's like, you're nailing it. Good work. Yes, keep doing that. Whatever you're saying yes to, whatever you're feeling, you're doing it. You're on the right path. And that's also, confirmation. Yes, you're following your intuition. Yes, you're following your path. Yes, you're following your guidance. So they're really fun when it's in full flow. And if you're not seeing that, it doesn't mean you're not. Sometimes we're in a more restful state where it's like, hey, nothing for you to do right now. Just chill. This is some cosmic energies are lining things up, and you can just take a back seat right now. You don't need to do anything, because that can be the thing. Sometimes we get on this roll and lots is happening, and then it feels like it stops. And you're like, uh-oh, have I done something wrong? No, we get to rest. We get to have some down days. We get to have some, hey, why don't you go enjoy your life? Why don't you sit in the backyard and watch the birds, watch the trees and watch the sun? You know, that's beautiful too. Sometimes that's the guidance. Just do that. If you don't feel there's anything to do and it feels good and calm, then that's what you need to do.
Love that.
Hmm.
Now, if you are somebody that is drawn to the spiritual beings, the angelic beings, do you need to be able to see them to know that they're there? What's
Mm-mm.
your guidance around that for someone listening today?
No, and I went through a phase where I really wanted to see them so badly. And my interpretation was I would see them as if I'm looking at you right now, which some people can kind of see to that degree, but majority it's more like a dream or it's a different way looking through your third eye, we would call it, of seeing than with our own two eyes. So it can be hard for the ego to come to terms with that. It definitely took me months of going, just want to see you. Like, I know I feel a presence or I feel something, but I don't want that. I want to see, and wasting a lot of time and energy trying to get my own way, or my ego trying to get its own way, instead of just trusting what was real for me, which was more of a feeling. If I specifically said, Archangel Raphael, I'd like to connect with you, in the early stages, and still now, it's fun to experiment. You become aware of these. I definitely wasn't aware of all these different archangels. And so learning about them and feeling, oh, what? I could potentially connect with these. Okay, I'm going to create some space, some time. I'm going to get into a sort of calm state and just open up and say, hey, for my greatest and highest good, would I be able to connect with Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael? And then I would just sit and see what happened. And I'd often get a kind of feeling in my body. It might be like that, a loving feeling. Some people will kind of see a color. And then I might ask a question and just see if I received an answer. And this is where our ego and intuition, you have to be careful, because if you're doing it because your ego wants something, you're probably not going to get it. So me sitting there in my ego saying, I want to see them, I want to see these angels, but not really having a clear reason that I even wanted to do that, apart from probably going, hey, guess what? I can see angels. You know, that's cool. That's my ego talking. That's my ego wanting it for those reasons, instead of when I let go of that and I really go from the intuition and, do I really need to connect with them? Is that something that I need right now? And sometimes, no, I don't. And sometimes, oh, yes, I feel really called to sit and connect to that archangel, or just to bring them through. Most of the time, I just bring them through in a Reiki session. It's, oh, I feel I'm suddenly thinking of this archangel. I'm going to invite them to be here for this healing. I don't know what they're doing. I'm saying you're only here for the greatest and highest good, and only to be of loving service to myself and to this person. But that's it. They're just there to hold energy or bring that frequency through. So yeah, but there's people who specifically teach about archangels and connecting with them, and they do really beautiful work. But just even again, having that awareness, hey, maybe they're there and they're there to help me and support me. And if I start to become aware that that potential exists, see where it goes, see what happens.
Anyone listening today that is interested in pursuing or following their curiosity around spirituality, often you'll get presented with what it is that you're being guided to study or guided to attend an event or to listen to a podcast. It can be as easy as listening to somebody speaking on a podcast, and your guidance might come through in that way. And I know when I was first starting my journey, I was called to attend a light worker workshop, like a level 1 light worker workshop here in Caloundra. And I went along and I didn't think I had any abilities. I was just curious. And I thought, well, I'm just going to show up with my friend and attend this event. I was pretty sure I didn't have any abilities because I couldn't see, right? It's that FOMO of not being able to see. And the workshop really took us through activities of practicing. And that's what it is. It's just practicing activities where you are essentially guessing at the beginning, which is using your intuition. And I remember through that process, discovering through the activities, oh, I may not be able to see. Well, I can see, but I would feel primarily the same information that others in the group would see.
Yes.
And I needed that experience to actually confirm, actually, I think there might be something here. Like, you may actually have some abilities, Kay. And that blows your mind when you first experience it, doesn't it? Do you remember your first experience?
Well, just building on that too, when you're in a group, it is so great to hear other people's, because I had a friend who she could see, and I mean, I used to say I couldn't see, and now I understand seeing through my third eye, I can. But my strongest is knowing and then feeling. And then actually they're all pretty working together pretty well now, because they do develop the more that you use them. You know, they're new muscles if you haven't been using them. But anyway, she could see, but she would say, I'm seeing this, this, and this. What the heck does that mean? And I would go, actually, you're seeing this, this. And I'm like, so she's like, I wish I could just know like you do. And I'm like, I wish I could just see like you do. But then we see, well, we could work together, or, you know, you just realize, well, maybe that's like, it is great what I'm picking it up on, and I can trust it a bit more. And you get that kind of confirmation and permission that, this is right too. Yeah, the seeing. Even I guide people to connect with their spirit guides. And I say now, don't fixate on trying to see a face, because it doesn't matter ultimately. You might get a feeling, you might have a color, you know, I do all this different cueing, but still sometimes people at the end are like, I didn't see their face. I'm like, doesn't matter. And I've forgotten what question you asked me. What did you actually ask me?
We've got two. I was just in the flow listening to the conversation.
I know
your first experience. Yes.
Yeah. So my first experience was my friend did Reiki, and I ultimately was guided there, but I didn't want to copy. I felt like I was copying her if I just went and did Reiki. So I just, I asked, I put the awareness out there probably for the first time ever. Hey, I would like to do something kind of spiritual. I want to know, is there something here for me? And up on Facebook, I love social media because it really does bring these things into your awareness. If you just ask, it'll pop up on there if you're on there. And it was a post saying, do you feel intuitive? And I was like, I've had some things happen in my life that seem too coincidental. Not that I could control them, but just knowing a song was on the radio, or knowing who was going to call before we had phones that tell you who's calling, but the old home phone, I'd be like, it's for me. And I just knew it. Those kind of things, but sporadic and not enough that you could do anything with it really. But yeah, it just really jumped out at me. And it was just a very basic intuition development course. And it was, 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. But it blew my mind, because the first thing, she just guided me to meet my guides. And I didn't even think I really thought guides existed. And yet she'd ask me a question and I'd have this kind of knowing or answer, and we'd just write it down. And then from from the interaction, I knew that she could see what I was picking up on. And I was like, what the heck? And I remember going to my work the next day and I told someone there that I was doing it. And she's like, what happened? I'm like, there's this whole other reality that exists somewhere. And there's like spirit guides, and I don't know. It just was crazy. And it was that, oh my gosh, there's something here and I can tap into it. I never thought I would be able to do that. And I got to know more. Like, what is all this? So that really.
We're worried about AI. We're worried about AI.
Yeah. Yeah. No. There's so much to be explored. So yeah, it was very exciting, and I was ready to quit my job, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And my husband's like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to quit my job. But my heart was like, we're on, like, this is the new path. And then Reiki did just keep popping up. And so very quickly I did Reiki, and then, yeah, that was just it.
Everybody, it can happen differently. I know for me, my journey was probably spearheaded by the passing of my grandmother, and unknowingly, and her wanting to connect with me once she passed, and the ways that she connected with me. So she used to be a smoker, and she smoked a specific brand of French cigarettes that I would go and buy for her when I was a child at the local store. And I would sit here in my office and it would fill with cigarette smoke, and it was that specific brand.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'd look out the window like, is there someone smoking? Like looking, and I don't like smoking. And it happened a couple of times. And then I kind of went, hang on a minute. Is that like, could it be?
Yeah.
And one day her best friend lived up here and she wasn't well. And I just had this feeling that my grandmother somehow had connected me and her best friend, who came into my life as my grandmother was passing. And you start to then kind of think, is this random? Is all of this coincidence? And then I just had a thought to ask her if she was there. And I was driving home in my car, and I was like, if you're here and you can hear me, can you just like give me a butterfly? I want a butterfly. And I was going about 70 kilometers an hour, and a butterfly materialized in front of my windscreen.
Wow.
And I just started crying.
That's amazing.
And I feel like when you have those experiences that you can't explain, it's like spirit trying to prove to you, yes, we're here. And that pretty much spearheaded everything else for me.
You get those big moments, and then, you have to watch that you don't get addicted to those big moments, because it becomes more subtle. It's like you get this amazing experience to say, see, this is possible. This is undeniable. Now go walk the path now and go lean into that. But I love that you thought to ask, because the power of questions, I've really had such a deeper understanding lately that we're not taught to question. We haven't been taught to question. I hope that the next generation is being taught to question a bit more, but just realizing how little we've been taught to question, and the power of questions, the power of asking and looking around and having curiosity. And instead of saying, oh, I don't know, or who can tell me the answer, like if we just open up and go, the answer exists, it's there, and trusting that your intuition will guide you to it. It's a very different way of operating, but it starts with going, hey, you know what? If this is, and you can say things like, please show me a sign, or please bring me the answer, or whatever feels right, and it would just bring me this guidance. If I'm meant to do this, please make it really clear and show me that answer. And I've heard enough people and had my own experiences that it works. And if we don't get an answer, then okay, maybe the question needs to be rearranged, or maybe now's not the time. But there's so much power in just asking and having that openness, and then being open to whatever comes from that.
Do you have any light language workshops coming up anytime soon for anybody that's listening, or if anybody wants to connect with you after today's chat? What are the best ways to reach out to you?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Sunshine Coast Reiki. So I share all my upcoming events and everything on there. And I also have a website and a mailing list. And I really keep telling myself I should send more emails, but anyway, I don't. It's maybe once a month, or if I have an event, I might send a couple. But yeah, it's not a spammy email list at all if you want to subscribe to that. There is going to be another light language workshop. We're just finalizing the date, but it'll be in August. I think it'll be around mid-August. So we're just finalizing if it's, a Saturday or Sunday. That's a one-day workshop. So yeah, I've done two, and every time, this is where spirit leads, or intuition, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Because as soon as it happens and more people are asking for it, I don't even have to say, should I do another one? Because there's already people saying, when's the next one? When is it? I want to come. And I've already got a list. So it's very clear. Oh, okay, cool. There's another one coming. And yeah, so August that will be. And I've just today posted a Reiki Level 1 class, which is Tuesday, the 4th of June. I teach Reiki Level 1 every month, once or twice, a class once or twice a month, and then Level 2, Masters, all of those. But yeah, the next Level 1 class has just been put up on my website to be booked. And I'm very open too, though. I do take a lot of guidance from the external world as far as, if you want something, ask me, ask the question, because that is how I operate best. It's a beautiful interplay. So I set the intention, hey, I think I'm ready to book some June Reiki classes in, and then I sort of open it up energetically, and then people come and say, hey, when's the next this class? And I go, oh, let's make it. So please, if there's that intuitive feeling, if it's something that you want to do, ask. It's a very powerful tool that we have to just ask.
That is why your abilities keep opening up, because you're open. You're open to receive, and you're open to wherever spirit wants to guide you. And I find that when you are open and you just trust, that your abilities do keep opening up, and new ways of interpreting come through our bodies. And we all have this one body, this one amazing body, and it can do amazing things. And so if you hear anything today, just open up your heart and your mind to the possibilities of what could come your way, and your life will transform.
Yes, so well said. Love it.
Thank you so much for your time today, Abbi. I'm really looking forward to sharing this episode with my community. I know you will have some new fabulous community members as soon as they find out about you, and you're doing such beautiful work. I am going to come to one of your light language workshops. I'd absolutely love to come along. So I look forward to coming along to your workshop.
Amazing. Thank you, Kay. Thank you so much for this beautiful time to talk about the stuff that I just love, and I do talk about it as much as I possibly can. I've made my whole life around it pretty much. So I'm always welcome an opportunity to. So thank you so much for that.